Tell me something honestly. If something came into your life, took what never belonged to you, and left without asking, would you call that loss? Or correction? Because after that night, after the storm passed, after she disappeared into the trees, he thought it was over. He was wrong. At first, nothing seemed different. The land was quiet again. The herd was calm. The sky clear. Too clear. Because when something leaves that easily, it usually means it's not finished. And then it started. Not another storm. Not yet. Something smaller. Harder to notice. The cattle stopped responding to him. Not all of them. Just enough to make him question it. They hesitated when he called. Watched him differently. Like they were waiting for something else. Or someone else. And then the land changed. Paths he had walked for years felt unfamiliar. Fences he built himself didn't feel like they held the same ground anymore. It didn't make sense. Because nothing had moved. But everything felt shifted. And that's when he realized. The storm didn't take everything it came for. It only took the first. So now I'll ask you. What happens when something returns? Not to fix, but to finish? Because next time, it won't just be one animal. Next time, it might be something he can't afford to lose. And the worst part? He's starting to understand. She wasn't the only one who could come with the storm. The first sign wasn't loud. It didn't come with thunder or wind. Or anything he could point to and say, there. It came quietly. Like something shifting just beneath the surface. 3 days after the storm, he noticed it. Not in the sky. Not in the trees. In the herd. At first, it was small. Easy to ignore. A delay. He called them in from the far side of the field like he always did. Same voice. Same signal. Same routine. And they came. But not the same way. Not all at once. Not immediately. A few moved first. Slow. Careful. The rest stayed. Watching. That was new. Cattle don't watch like that. They react. They follow. They respond. But this felt like something else. Like they were waiting. Not for him. For something else. He tried again. Louder this time. Nothing. Not fear. Not panic. Just hesitation. His chest tightened. Because it wasn't disobedience. It was distance. And distance was worse. He walked out into the field. Boots pressing into dry earth that still held the memory of rain. Come on, closer now. A few stepped forward. But most didn't. They held their ground. Eyes on him. Still. Like they were trying to understand something. Or decide something. And for the first time since he built that ranch, he didn't feel in control. By afternoon, he told himself it was nothing, storm stress. Animals reacting late. It happens. It had to. Because the alternative didn't make sense. But then came the fence. It was one of the oldest on the property, strong. Reinforced. He had built it himself. He knew every post, every line, every inch. And yet, it was wrong. Not broken. Not damaged. Just off. He stood there staring at it longer than he should have. The alignment felt different. The ground beneath it, uneven. Like it had been moved. But it hadn't. It couldn't have been. He checked the posts. Dug slightly at the base, still deep. Still anchored. Still exactly where they should be. And yet, it didn't feel like it held the same land anymore. That was the thought that stayed with him. Not that the fence changed, but that what it stood on had. By evening, the air shifted again. No storm. No clouds, just that same feeling, quiet. Too quiet that he stood on the porch, looking out across everything he owned. Or thought he did. And for the first time, he questioned it. Not the land itself, but his place in it. That night, he walked the perimeter, not because he had to. Because he needed to. Needed to prove something still made sense. The moon was low, casting long shadows across the fields. Everything looked normal. But nothing felt it. He reached the far side. Near the tree line. The same place she had stood, the same place the storm had broken everything open. He stopped there. Listened. Nothing. No wind. No movement. Then, a sound, soft. Behind him. He turned quickly. The herd. Not scattered. Not resting. Standing. All of them. Facing him, that wasn't right. They should have been grazing, sleeping. Moving. But they weren't. They were still. Watching. And in that moment, he felt it again. Not fear. Not danger. Recognition. But not theirs. His. Like something in him, was being seen. Measured. And found. Different. His throat tightened. Because suddenly, this wasn't about animals anymore. This wasn't about fences. Or storms. This was about something changing. Something that had already started. And wasn't waiting for his permission. He took a slow step back. The herd didn't move. Didn't react. Just watched. And that's when the thought came, clear. Sharp. Unavoidable. The storm didn't just take something. It didn't just return something. It changed something. And whatever it changed was still here. The next morning. He didn't wait. Didn't stand on the porch. Didn't watch from a distance. He went straight to the field. Because whatever he felt the night before, he needed to face it in daylight. The sun was already up. Bright. Clear. Too normal. The kind of morning that makes you question everything that came before it. But the moment he stepped into the field, he knew. Nothing had gone back to normal. The herd was spread out this time. Grazing. Moving. But not naturally. There was space between them. Too much space. Like they were avoiding something. Or leaving room for it. His chest tightened. He walked further in. Slow. Careful. Watching them as much as they were watching him. Because they still did that. Watched. Not with fear. With awareness. Like they were part of something he wasn't. Then. He saw it. At first. It didn't stand out. Just another shape near the far edge of the field. Still. Low to the ground. He frowned. Stepped closer. And the moment he did, the cattle shifted. Not away from him. Away from that. That was new. He stopped walking. Because now, he could see it clearly. Tracks. But not from cattle. Not from anything he owned. They were deeper. Wider. Pressed into the earth like whatever made them. Carried weight. Real weight. His breath slowed. Because he knew one thing for certain. Those weren't there yesterday. He followed them. Not quickly. Because something in him told him. Speed wouldn't help. The tracks moved toward the tree line. Same direction. Same place. Everything always led back there now. The edge of the land. Or maybe the edge of what he understood. The closer he got, the quieter it became. Again. That unnatural silence. No birds. No wind. Just the sound of his own steps. And something else. Faint. Breathing. He froze. Listened. It stopped. Just like that. Gone. His jaw tightened. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer. But something shifted. Not in front of him. Behind him. He turned fast. Nothing. Just trees. Shadows. Stillness. But it didn't feel empty. It felt occupied. That was the difference. He stepped back once. Then again. Not running. But no longer moving forward. Because whatever was out there wasn't her. That much, he knew. She brought calm. This brought pressure. He made it back to the field faster than he intended. And the moment he stepped out of the tree line, the herd reacted. Not panic. Not fear. But movement. They gathered. Closer than before. Tighter. As if they were protecting something. Or waiting for something to pass. He turned back toward the trees. And for a moment, he saw it. Not clearly. Not fully. Just movement. Low. Fast. Gone. His heart started to pound. Because now, he wasn't imagining it. There was something out there. Something that wasn't hers. Something that didn't belong to the storm. Or maybe something that came because of it. That night, he didn't stay inside. Didn't even try. He sat on the porch. Watching. Waiting. The sky was clear again. But the air felt heavier. Like something was building. Without clouds. Without warning. Hours passed. Nothing moved. Nothing appeared. And yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. Then, somewhere in the distance, a sound. Not thunder. Not wind. Something deeper. Lower. A growl. But not from anything he had ever heard before. It wasn't loud. But it carried. Through the land. Through him. And every single animal on that ranch stopped. At the exact same moment. The silence that followed was worse than the sound. Because now he understood something he hadn't wanted to admit. The storm didn't just bring her. It opened something. And whatever came through next wasn't there to return anything. It was there to take. He didn't sleep that night. Not after the sound. Not after the silence that followed. Because once you hear something like that, you don't forget it. You wait for it. And that's what he did. Waited. For morning. For light. For something that made sense. But when morning came, it didn't bring answers. It brought proof. The first thing he noticed was the herd. They weren't spread out. They were gathered. Tight. Closer than he had ever seen them before. Not grazing. Not moving. Just standing. Facing outward. Like a wall. His chest tightened. Because cattle don't do that. They don't form lines. They don't hold ground. Unless something makes them. He stepped closer. Slow. Careful. Easy, he said under his breath. A few turned their heads toward him. But they didn't break formation. Didn't move aside. They stayed where they were. Blocking something. Or keeping something out. His eyes shifted past them. Toward the open land beyond. And that's when he saw it. The ground. Marked. Not like before. Not just tracks. Damage. Deep grooves carved into the earth. Lines that didn't follow any pattern he knew. As if something had moved through. Without caring what it left behind. He walked along the edge of it. Heart steady. Mind racing. Because now. This wasn't subtle. This wasn't something you could explain away. This had crossed into his land. And left a mark. All right, he muttered. This time. He wasn't waiting. He grabbed his rifle. Not because he wanted to use it. But because something inside him said. This wasn't something you faced empty-handed. By midday. He was back at the tree line. Same place. Same silence. But now. It felt different. Not empty. Occupied. Watching. He stepped forward. Crossing into the trees. Slow. Deliberate. The light dimmed instantly. Not because of the sun. But because the space itself felt heavier. Come out, he called. No echo. No response. But something moved. Not in front of him. Around him. A branch snapped. To his left. He turned. Rifle raised. Nothing. Then. Movement to the right. Faster this time. Too fast. Gone before he could aim. His breathing slowed. Not panic. Focus. Because now. He wasn't imagining it. It was circling him. You don't belong here, he said firmly. The words felt strange. Because for the first time. He wasn't sure if they were true. Then. It stopped. Everything stopped. The movement. The sound. The air itself. And slowly. From between the trees. It stepped out. Not fully. Not clearly. But enough. Enough for him to see. It wasn't an animal. Not like any he had known. Its shape shifted with the shadows. Too large to be anything natural. Too quiet to be anything normal. And its eyes. Fixed on him. Not wild. Not afraid. Intent. His grip tightened on the rifle. Turn around, he said. Voice low. Controlled. It didn't move. Didn't react. Just watched. And then. It took one step forward. The ground pressed under it. Deep. Heavy. That same weight from the tracks. Something in him snapped. Not fear. Instinct. He fired. The shot cracked through the trees. Loud. Sharp. Birds burst into the sky. Echoes rolled across the land. And the thing. Didn't fall. Didn't flinch. Didn't even stop. It tilted its head. Like it didn't understand what he had just done. Then. It stepped back. Slowly. And disappeared into the trees. Just like that. Gone. The silence that followed was worse than before. Because now. He knew. It wasn't afraid of him. Not of the land. Not of anything he could do. He lowered the rifle slowly. Breathing heavier now. Because something had just crossed into his world. And it didn't care about his rules. By the time he made it back to the field, the herd had moved again. But not back to normal. They were closer now. Tighter. And when he stepped toward them, they stepped back. That was new. That had never happened before. He stopped. Because in that moment, everything became clear. Not all at once. But enough. The storm didn't just open something. It changed the balance. And now, something else had stepped in. Something that didn't come to return. Didn't come to warn. Something that came. Because it could. And for the first time, he wasn't the one in control of what happened next. He didn't go back to the trees that evening. Not because he wasn't ready. Because he understood something now. Whatever was out there wasn't something you chased. It came when it wanted. The ranch felt different that night. Not quiet. Held. Like everything was waiting. The cattle stayed close again. Tighter than ever. Not just gathered. Clustered. As if the open land no longer felt safe. He stood near the center of the field. Watching them. Trying to understand something that refused to make sense. And then, the wind changed. Not strong. Not violent. But familiar. That same shift from before. The kind that didn't belong to weather. His chest tightened. Because he knew what that meant. He turned slowly. And there she was. Standing at the far edge of the field. Just like before. Still. Calm. Untouched by everything around her. For a moment. Nothing moved. Not the wind. Not the herd. Not even him. Because something was different this time. Last time, she came alone. This time, she didn't. He felt it before he saw it. That pressure. That weight in the air. The same presence from the trees. Still here. Still watching. You came back, he said quietly. Her eyes met his. No hesitation. I didn't leave. The answer sat wrong. What does that mean? She didn't respond. Instead, she looked past him. Toward the tree line. And that's when it happened. The cattle shifted. Not in panic. In reaction. They moved closer to her. Not him. Her. That hit harder than anything else. Because now it was clear. They trusted her. Not him. It's here, he said. Her gaze didn't move. I know. Simple. Certain. What is it? He asked. A pause. Longer this time. Then. Something that doesn't listen. That answer didn't help. If anything, it made it worse. Then why is it here? He pressed. This time. She looked at him. And there it was again. That quiet certainty. It followed the opening. The storm? She nodded once. It doesn't understand balance. The word hung there. Balance. That's what she had been doing. Returning things. Correcting things. But this wasn't correcting anything. It was breaking it. A low sound rolled across the land. Not thunder. That same deep growl. Closer now. The herd reacted instantly. Tightening. Pressing inward. Toward her. His grip tightened at his side. Because this time, he didn't feel like he was standing on his own land. He felt like he was standing in the middle of something. That had nothing to do with him. It's coming, he said. I know. She didn't move. Didn't prepare. Didn't even look concerned. That unsettled him more than the sound. "You're just going to stand there?" he asked. Her response came calm. "Yes." The growl came again. Louder. Closer. And then the trees moved. Not from wind. From something passing through them. It stepped out slowly. No rush. No fear. The same presence. But clearer now. Larger than he expected. Shadows clinging to its form like they belonged to it. Eyes locked forward. Not on him. On her. The air shifted instantly. Heavy. Like the land itself was reacting. For the first time. She moved. One step forward. Between it and the herd. Everything stopped. The sound. The movement. The world itself. They faced each other. Not like predator and prey. Not like enemies. Like something older. Something that understood more than he ever could. "You shouldn't be here," she said quietly. The thing didn't respond. Didn't react. It stepped forward. The ground pressed beneath it again. That same weight. She didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't flinch. "Leave," she said. The word carried. Not loud. But firm. For a moment. Nothing happened. Then. It stopped. Tilted its head slightly. Like it was considering something. Then its gaze shifted. From her. To him. And in that moment, he felt it. Not fear. Recognition. Like it knew him. Or something about him. His breath caught. Because suddenly. This wasn't random. This wasn't just about land. Or storms. This had something to do with him. The thing let out a low sound. Not aggressive. Not warning. Something else. Then. Slowly. It stepped back. And disappeared into the trees again. The pressure lifted. Just enough to breathe. The herd loosened slightly. But didn't scatter. He looked at her. "What was that?" She didn't answer immediately. Then. Quietly. "It's not finished." His chest tightened. With what? This time. She didn't look at him. She looked at the land. With what was started. And just like that. The calm didn't return. Because now. He knew. This wasn't something passing through. This was something that had arrived. And it wasn't leaving. He didn't speak for a long time after it left. Didn't move either. Because something had shifted. Not outside. Inside. That moment. When it looked at him. That wasn't random. That wasn't curiosity. It knew him. Or something about him. "What did it see?" he finally asked. His voice was lower now. Less force. More weight. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she watched the herd. They were calmer again. But not at ease. Like something had passed. But not gone. "It recognized something," she said quietly. His jaw tightened. "What?" Now she looked at him. And there it was again. That same certainty. The same thing the land does. That didn't make sense. "The land doesn't recognize anything," he said. "It does," she replied. A pause. "You just never needed to notice before." That answer sat wrong. Because it wasn't confusing. It was unsettling. "What is this really about?" he asked. This time. She didn't look away. It's about what was taken. His chest tightened. I didn't take anything. You did, she said. No hesitation. No doubt. That animal, he pushed. She shook her head once. No. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then what? He demanded. And this time. She answered. Time. The word landed strangely. Not what he expected. Not what he understood. What does that even mean? He said. You built everything fast, she continued. Expanded quickly. Took more land. More cattle. More than what was given. I worked for everything I have. Yes, she said. A pause. But not everything you have was yours to keep. The wind shifted slightly. Cooler now. Sharper. He shook his head. This doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to, she said. That answer didn't help. His frustration rose. Then stopped. Because something clicked. Not fully. But enough. When I bought the northern land, he said slowly. Her eyes stayed on him. There were already animals there. A pause. I thought they were strays. Silence. I added them to the herd. The words felt heavier now. Different. You didn't question it, she said. I didn't need to. But you should have. That hit harder than anything else. Because now. He remembered. The way those animals never fully settled, the way they stayed near the edge, the way they never followed as easily. He had noticed. He just hadn't cared. They weren't yours, she said quietly. His chest tightened. And now? He asked. She looked toward the trees. Now something else has come to correct more than that. The weight of those words settled in. This isn't about cattle, he said. No, it's about balance. Yes. And that thing, he gestured toward the trees. It's here because of that? She didn't answer immediately, then, it's here because something was left open. His throat tightened and it thinks it belongs now. The land felt heavier again. Like it was listening. What happens if it stays? He asked. This time. Her answer came slower. Then it won't stop with what was taken. A pause, it will take what it decides doesn't belong. His chest tightened sharply. And what decides that? He asked. Her eyes met his. It does. Silence. Because now this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a mistake. This was something choosing. And that made it worse. He looked out across the land. Everything he had built. Everything he had claimed. And for the first time, he saw it differently. Not as something he owned. But something he had shaped. Without asking what it was meant to be. What do I do? He asked quietly. That question cost him something. Pride. Control. Certainty. She didn't answer immediately. Then. You stop holding what isn't yours. The simplicity of it made it harder. And if I don't? Her gaze didn't shift. Then it won't stop taking. The wind moved again. Not violently. But enough. Enough to remind him. This wasn't over. Not even close. Because now. It wasn't just watching. It was waiting. And this time, waiting. For him. So now I want to ask you something. If you were in his place. Standing there. Realizing that everything you believed was yours. Was never truly yours to keep. Would you have done the same? Would you have let go? Even when you didn't fully understand what you were facing? Or would you have held on? And risked losing everything? Because what happened here wasn't a victory. It wasn't defeat either. It was something else. A pause. And sometimes, a pause is more dangerous than an ending. Because it means something is still deciding. Speech balloon, tell me in the comments. Do you think he restored balance? Or did he just delay what was coming? Because one thing is certain. Whatever came to that land didn't come by accident. And it didn't leave by mistake. So if you think this story is over, it's not. Because next time, it might not choose to pause. So make sure you like, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what comes next won't just test what he lets go of. It will reveal what the land has been holding all along.